high-tech oils, available from Auto One, Sprint Auto Parts, and all leading independent auto stores.
There's a new car that's set to break cover this weekend in the Sports Racer Series, and it's been developed to potentially take on some of the world's best cars in the biggest stages of sports car racing. The West LMP4 Sports Racer is the newest of the West race cars fleet, and there's an air of excitement coming from the Adelaide-based manufacturer.
So this is our debut weekend for the new West Sports Racer. It's car number 1 of 1, and so there's still a few unknowns. We've never done a race in it. We've just been out there, did a lot of testing in Thailand, and the car seems to be performing well. It's pretty easy to drive. I'm stuck using a stick shifter, which I don't usually do, so I'm just trying to get used to that. But no, it's an enjoyable thing to drive.
It's completely redesigned suspension. It also includes a third damper, which is sort of, pretty much leading edge suspension design. The drivetrain, so we've moved all the weight to the centre line, so the car is spectacularly but far better handling, and we've also spent nearly $500,000 in aerodynamic development, so the aero on the car is phenomenal. So the whole package is a much better car to its predecessor.
Welcome back to Winton Motor Raceway as our coverage of the 2016 Shannons Australian Motor Racing Nationals presented by Penrite Oils continues as we move into the second round of the Australian Sports Racer Series. This is one of the most diverse racing categories in Australian motorsport, with a whole range of sports and open wheel cars on the racetrack all at once. We're one round down. It was won by Josh Townsend. He leads the standings ahead of Jason Macris, with Mark Short third, Josh Cranston fourth, and Peter Johnston in fifth place. The defending champ Mark Lauke has got some work to do. Roger Ianson qualified on pole on Saturday. He then won the opening race of the weekend from Aaron Steer. This is race 2. Renato Liberto is alongside me in commentary, madly warming up the Kumo Control tyres. Josh Cranston in his F1000 Wings and Slicks racer as we get set for this race. It's a great category. There's so much diversity on the one racetrack.
Absolutely, Krause. And these cars, it looks like you've got open wheel cars here in the F1000s. You've got the West's Radicals and so on in here as well. It is a really, really good mix of cars, and these things are super quick.
This is Aaron Steer, race winner in this category multiple times in the brand new West LMP4. We're underway and racing. Good start from the South Australian Roger Ianson, back in the category this weekend. That's a slow start for what looked to be Jason Macris. Peter Johnston down the inside in his Radical. Meanwhile, the blue and black number 17 car works his way through. It's a busy field. Lots of races within a race in this category, and lots of cars that produce their speed differently to all the other ones. We'll tell you more about that as the race plays out. But a nice clean start and everyone underway.
The hardest thing in these cars will be, in these conditions being so cold, is trying to, like the F3 cars, develop some tyre temperature so you can then start leaning on it more and more and more, and then start getting that aero grip working. You can see those first 3 cars there, those Wests, super low to the ground, almost no drag in terms of what they've got. The underside of those cars is where all the aerodynamics is really happening.
So that's Ianson out in front, Steer in second, the defending champion Mark Lauke in third place. Then a couple of the Radicals working their way through. Pete Johnston in the grid there, and John Morris celebrating a birthday as well in his brand new Radical SR3 RSX. And John's been over in Europe racing that car, or a similar version of it, and getting plenty of laps lately. Good start from Steer. And that very cool camouflage spec livery on the LMP4 West.
Yeah, it's quite a new car, and obviously they're sort of playing on that. In testing they put those prototype liveries on cars with the sort of the barcode or zebra look to try and confuse the opposition in terms of what they're doing with that car. But there's no doubt about it, that car is super quick.
Yeah, a lot of work going on. It developed a lot out of Asia, that car, and built up there before being brought to Australia. So really multinational enterprise now, West Race Cars Australia. Josh Cranston caught up behind Philip Hughes in his Radical SR3.
Now, this is interesting for me. Phil's actually been my race engineer for a couple of years. He was actually behind our podium at Bathurst 12 Hours, so it's interesting for me to actually be able to critique his driving for once. He's doing a great job there holding off Josh behind. In 2 very different cars. They're going to have different strengths, and Phil's doing a fantastic job, and so is Josh as well.
Only raced part-time in the championship last year. Phil Hughes, in fact, really his first ever race meetings in the Australian Sports Racer Series, but did a terrific job and he's now routinely a leading contender of the Radical Brigade that run in this category. The field works their way through. That's John Paul Drake in the WX10 West, the Licorice All Sorts car with the amazing multicoloured livery. Replay of the start.
You can hear that engine as well. So most of these sports racer cars have got some sort of motorcycle-based engine in them. Everything from just under 1,000cc through up to the 1,500cc's, which are in the Radicals, which are based on a Hayabusa engine, 1.3 litre. Then PowerTech take hold of them. It's a big mix, and what that means is different horsepower, but also the way they produce their torque is very different as well.
And this is Cranston in the F1000 car, which were a great addition to the championship last year, and in the hands of a couple of drivers, actually won races outright too. They're a very, very speedy car, and watch for them at Queensland Raceway later in the year. They'll be very competitive. This is Pete Johnston, John Morris, John Paul Drake. Very, very busy little battle going on here. Adam Cranston just in behind. Adam raced his brother Josh in F1000s last year, has moved up into the West race car, the Sports Racer pack this year. So this is a really interesting little battle. So the Radicals have got more grunt, but they're heavier. The Sports Racers not perhaps quite so quick in a straight line and out of the corners, but they're lighter and they've got plenty of aero. So it's a really interesting little fight to see how these cars match up. And at the moment, it seems like they're doing it really well.
And through this section of corners here, it's not a huge amount of aerodynamics involved at all in these corners. It's all about mechanical grip and how they can put the power down. You see, no one's really got an advantage through there. They're all kind of line astern, just working it through. But then we get onto these straights, as you mentioned, you can see the Radical pulling a decent gap again. So there's going to be this bit of cat and mouse the whole way through the race, I think, with these guys, which is really exciting to watch.
Yeah, it's one of the great attributes of this category. 3 times last season, sports racer races were decided in what were essentially dead heats, as Pete Johnston locks a brake heading down into turn 11. So the series has this incredible reputation for providing thrilling motor racing. In fact, Queensland Raceway, we had a 3-wide finish for the victory.
Amazing.
Yeah, remarkable stuff. As we see the West go down the outside of Pete Johnston and grab that spot. So lightweight, nimble little West open top cars, probably better under brakes than the heavier Radicals. But it all balances itself out, and down the inside goes Adam Cranston, and he gets that spot as well. Oh, and pointing the wrong direction is car number 5, Josh Cranston.
It's going to have a little bit of dirt on the tyres after that. It will clear off quite quickly, but you can see the car is moving around a little bit after that little spin there.
Let's have a look. He was chasing down Jason Macris. Yeah, just mid-corner.
As I mentioned, just with that mechanical grip, if you don't have the car 100% balanced in terms of the weight over the rear axle, it's just going to want to rotate around. And with the engine being mid-engine or towards the rear with the gearbox as well, there's a lot of weight there, so it does have that pendulum effect of spinning you around.
And the drivers have said about this new surface, as smooth and billiard table lovely as it is, that while it's still building up its rubber and developing as a racetrack, because it's so brand new, it can be a bit two-faced, so you can get to the grip limit, and as soon as you get to it and exceed it, it spins you around quickly. So that you reach the level of grip, and then it's like a finite edge, and the car wants to fire you around. Quite a few drivers in the paddock talking about that over the course of the weekend. As this little in-house Radical battle continues, Pete Johnston under a huge amount of pressure from John Morris.
And you can see that RXC you mentioned, the rear tail lights. It's just a newer generation of the car, more efficient aerodynamics, more efficient electronics in the car, but ultimately it's back down to the same thing. You've got a very, very lightweight car with a high-powered motorcycle-based engine in it and a lot of aerodynamics on the car.
Road legal in the UK, Radicals. Yeah, love to drive one around here. Amazing.
They're amazing, yeah.
Well, Australian roads, I don't think they're quite so good as what the UK's got, so they might be a bit backbreaking. Keep them on the racetrack, perhaps.
And I can't see a kangaroo bar working off the front of one too well.
No, I don't think so. So the final lap, the sports racers, Roger Anton, there he is out in front. The Ken's exhaust car from Waikerie in the Riverland in South Australia. Great young racing car driver, had a wretched season last year, and it's great to see him back and winning races in the Australian Sports Racer Series. Aaron Steer second, the debut of the LMP4 going very nicely, and the defending champ Mark Lauke made it a West 1-2-3 when he finished third.
Yeah, it's gotten rid of the bumps. I don't know if the overall grip's gone up, but getting rid of those bumps, especially through the sweeper and under the braking zones, has made it a lot nicer to drive, a bit easier on the car, and made the track really enjoyable.
So as we go back and have a look at highlights of race 3 a little bit later on the day, this was a wild motor race, and you'll see why in just a second. Firstly, it all kicked off at turn 1, Renato.
Yeah, you can see the brakes lock in front, one of the radicals, another one rotates in front. We've got John Morris there, a slight bit of contact through.
So Chris Sutton, this is, in the SR3, just grabs the rears and rotates, and Phil Hughes had to take evasive action and bounce through the undergrowth as well. That wasn't all though. Josh Cranston, turn 3, watch what goes on in front. Jason Macris has a spin, Pete Johnston's involved, that's Mark Lauke off to the left of screen. Cranston goes through, but poor old Josh's day wasn't done with yet. This is a bit later on in the race with two recovering drivers, Sutton and Cranston, get stuck into each other, and Cranston is forced to take evasive action once again.
You can see coming through the off-field here, it's just super slippery, being very gentle on the pedal. Deep in water. Another car going around in front here. It's just all over the place at the moment. Super
Vitas.
slippery as well now.
Yeah, Peter Vitas that was having the spin. So it was all teeing off, but out in front it was Roger Ianson, completely blissfully unaware of all the drama behind. He powered away to his third race win of the weekend and a round victory, a well-earned one at that. Well done, Roger, the round winner for the sports races here at Winton.
This time last year we had an oil surge problem which caused a massive engine failure for us, so we managed to qualify pole but then couldn't take the grid for the first race, so that was really gutting. But we've turned it around since then. We've got a new engine, we're really happy with how it's performing, and we've solved our oil surge issues and onward and upward.
Which is great to see, and he moves to the top of the Sports Racer Series standings now in front of Jason Macris with Peter Johnston in third, Chris Sutton's Radical fourth, and Josh Cranston, despite his dramas, in fifth. Well, that's it for our coverage of round 3 of the Shannons Australian Motor Racing Nationals from Winton Motor Raceway. Don't forget, head to thenationals.com.au for more information. We'll be back with more right after this break.